she kind of told me how she felt. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, no, that's literally not even what happened. And that's not how I felt. She thought I didn't want a relationship with her. I'm like, I literally like got lawyers and everything to fight for you, but you didn't know about it because I couldn't talk to you. So it's like a lot of things that, you know, like I would even ask Dad to see you, but he wouldn't tell you that I'm asking to see you. So you think I'm not even thinking about you. But the whole time I'm like literally fighting for you.
Welcome to the Grief Bully podcast. I am your host, J.Nicole. Thank you for joining our weekly discussion around grief, mental health, and your overall personal wellness. The Grief Bully podcast will serve as a vehicle to help you navigate life's journey. Be sure to subscribe, review, and share the podcast with anyone in your life that you think it will help. Let's bully grief together. What's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to another episode of Grief Bully Podcast. I am your host, J.Nicole. Guys, we are back in the building, rocking and rolling for another episode. And listen, this is a conversation that we've been trying to have for over a year now. I've got someone special in the building, someone very, very familiar with the network, the Devinwade network. We have on here today, guys, you probably don't know this, but Monica Ervin, Monica Mulatto, and she can say the other name. Go ahead, just say it.
I'm not saying it.
Okay, we're not going to say it.
I go by Monica Ervin.
Monica Ervin. We got Monica Ervin in here today, and we're going to be getting into a conversation that maybe you can relate, maybe you can't, I'm not sure, but for me, it's really important for me to make sure that we continue to have these spaces where we can have conversation. It's easy, I think, to talk about entertainment, to laugh, to joke, to just have a good time, which is good. We all need that, right? But the reality is life is just not always fun and games. And unfortunately, we face really difficult times sometimes. And I don't think when I created this show, the reason was I didn't feel like we had enough spaces where we could actually talk openly about our pain and about the things that we go through. So grief by definition is deep sorrow. And that's what the show is kind of about. It could be loss really of anything. But when we got to know each other, one of the things that became very obvious and that you share openly on your social media and just in all of your conversations is, you know, the unfortunate passing of your mother. And just kind of want to get into that because I think not to be stereotypical, because I think everyone needs their mother in that regard, if, you know, their parents, but to be a young lady and to lose your mother pretty early on, just kind of walk us into that.
So my mom passed away from cervical cancer. It was 2020. I was 22. So I don't know if a lot of people know, like, I think that they think that cancer kind of happens pretty fast. But for me, it was really slow. So like watching my mom with cancer, and the effects of cancer, because necessarily she didn't die from cancer. She died from, you know, like taking the medicine and then, you know, like how that filters into your liver or your kidneys. I forget which one, but she ended up having to have that bag. And then she also had a bag in the back. And then, so it was just like a lot of things, like all your organs start shutting down. So it was a really slow and honestly painful process to watch. It wasn't like as rapid as they make it seem. It does, like, you know, cancer does spread pretty fast, but it wasn't like that for me. But yeah, it is different. Like when people say like, oh yeah, I lost my mom too. Like, especially like when they're older, I always like, and then they like sit there and say like, you know, like, I understand what you're going through. I'm like, yeah. It's really so different losing my mom at the age that I lost her versus your mom that kind of lived a full life and was able to be there for you throughout your life. And then, you know, like having my siblings and, you know, like I can only imagine losing their mom. Like although we've lost our mom and it's the same person, it's completely different losing her at 22 versus 6 or 12. You know what I mean? So it's a lot different, you know, like I had her for a lot longer than they did. And, you know, they had her for a lot less. So.
No, thank you for opening up about that. I mean, and I think whenever I have a guest that comes on, I always say thank you. And it can come off a little bit strange, but I do it because it's admirable. There's thousands of people, millions of people who will never really openly share where they are or what they've gone through in their life. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So with your mom passing away in 2020, which I actually, for some reason, and I'm glad we're having this conversation, I felt like you were a lot younger. Like I thought it was, with it being 2023, at the time of recording this, I always thought that it was a longer time away. So was that kind of like around the beginning, I guess, of the pandemic?
It was. She died February 13th, the day before Valentine's Day. So I think it was right before COVID hit. I think COVID hit in like March, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So it wasn't any of like the
So you didn't have like those
restrictions or nothing. No, she wasn't even in the hospital when she passed. She was in my grandmother's house, which is her mom. And that was like probably the most traumatizing experience I've ever been through. And I think not having a father that kind of was able to lead in decision making with, like, let's just say, like, whether the kids should be there or not, and kind of witness it, because they were like really young. And the way that my mom looked like on her deathbed is nothing compared to, like how she was when she was healthy. She was like a completely different person. So that alone, like, I'll look back at pictures and just be like, in the moment, you don't see the changes, but like looking back at it, I'm like, wow, like this is enough to make you tear up. But the whole at home thing, like it was like a sense of peace, not having to be in a hospital, because like she was surrounded by all her brothers and sisters. She's one of 8 herself. I think everyone there was there except for one of her sisters, but we were playing like worship music and stuff like that. But it was just a lot of crying, and like at the point, she wasn't even like coherent. So like I don't even remember the transition from me talking to her versus like her not being able to talk anymore. So it was like earlier that day we were trying to get her some strong drug. I forget what it was called. So I ended up having to be the person to go all the way to Bethlehem. It was like 30 minutes away or something like that from where she was at. And mid driving back, my aunts are calling me and they're like, you need to come back like right now. But leaving, I had no idea like today was the day or we were anywhere close, because I was just talking to her like yesterday. And even that conversation was hard too, because I had my dad and my grandmother, having different opinions of what they're going to do when she does pass. So my dad was like, oh, we always talked about cremating. My grandmother was like, no, we want to bury her. So I literally had to ask my mom, like, what do you want? Because I'm in the middle. And like, I don't know if anyone knows, but the oldest kin usually has the responsibility of making the arrangements, because my parents were legally divorced when all this happened. So I wanted to do the right thing. So I just openly asked her, but she was in like a lot of pain, and like, it was just like basically like, whatever you want to do, Monica. She was, she didn't want to put me in the middle of it or to do anything like that. But back to the story of me driving back with her medicine, mom was like, you need to come back like right now. Like she's not. So like when I left, she was like regular, like how she always was. When I came back, it was just like she was already gone. So like, although she was still there, she wasn't there anymore. She was just like, it was just like moaning and groaning. It was kind of like blank stares. It was really traumatizing, and yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot for sure. I mean, so many things that you brought up that I was trying to think.
Sorry.
No. Listen. I want you to keep going. Mm-hmm. I want you to be able to get those things off your chest for sure. I just know that it was a lot that you said, but I'm wondering a few things. When you said that you didn't know that day would actually be the day, from the time that your mother had the diagnosis, like what was that time frame? Since you said she passed in 2020, but had it been a long time to start to, I guess
Prepare.
grieve, kind of prepare, or because sometimes it depends on the diagnosis or what their prognosis is or what the outlook is. Mm-hmm. So was this delivered to you like, hey, your mom has cancer and it may not be a long time?
I want to say, because the timeline honestly is a little bit of a blur, I want to say either 2017 or 2018. I'm going to say 2018, I feel like, is when she kind of made the announcement, which was kind of like, it didn't feel real. Like, I didn't even take it serious. Like, when she said it, I was just like, okay. Like, and then she was just kind of saying, like, what she's going to do. And, you know, like, it's not, I don't know. She was really into, like, the herbal medicines and stuff like that. So she had, like, a plan. She definitely wasn't doing radiation. She made that, you know, clear, because I think they recommended a hysterectomy. And she was like, I don't want it to get out of my, I don't want, like, to mess up basically her original body.
With that being said, though, I just want to interject. I'm just curious. So with your mom making those decisions not to use radiation or to not have the hysterectomy, in that moment, it seems like you may have been supportive because, of course, like that, you know, it's your mom and she's going to do whatever. And you didn't even really take it serious. In hindsight, 2020, looking back, though, now, and pardon me if it's not comfortable to go there, but like, have you ever wrestled with that? Like thinking like if she would have maybe did radiation or if she would have did the hysterectomy, like maybe it would have been a different outcome?
Yeah, I think that I wrestle with it more when my dad would say it. Because I think that he felt a little guilty about it for other reasons, but he would kind of just like say that to me, like, oh my gosh, if she would have just, and if this happened, and I was kind of like the consoler. I wasn't really like, so I didn't really necessarily think of it on my own. I kind of had to like say to him, like, we can't think like that now. Like there's really no point of me even considering what could have been because we're here. So I don't think that I naturally thought of it. I think that it was more so other people.
Yeah, no, just curious about that because I've heard those things where you kind of start to get a little bit angry at the person that passed away just based on their decisions. And but at the end of it, it's really like they have to make the decision what's best for them. And she might not have been even thinking, you know, in that way about those things. So what I'm hearing too is I'm wondering, have you really given yourself, or do you think you've given yourself time or space to really
absolutely not
like grieve any of this? Because I mean, it seems like in the moments you just had to be Monica, you had to be a daughter, you had to be an older sibling, like you had to do so much. So what's that like? Is it something that you just,
the things that followed, like I think it was maybe a week after she passed away, was maybe 2 weeks after she passed away, my dad ended up kicking me out. So when he kicked me out, you know, I was already like processing that and like the timing of it. And it wasn't anything that I necessarily did. It was just like, I think him in the process of grieving, I remind him a lot of my mom, like the strong personality, helping him make decisions and kind of, you know, puppeteering almost his decisions. So I think once he kind of like realized it for a second, he kind of made a bold and snap decision. So from then on, you know, I was just hit with finding a place to stay, finding kind of stability, and also, you know, being the older sister and making sure that I'm there for them. So definitely wasn't able to process that because he ended up keeping the kids from me. So like I wasn't able to grieve my mom because I'm grieving the 6 other people that I can no longer see right now. So it kind of got on the back burner, and it showed throughout, you know, like, you know, the seasons of my life. But I think I almost would prefer to grieve now versus back then.
Why?
I think that I've been able to maybe be less emotional towards certain things. And I think if I would have grieved back then, I would have done a lot of blaming. And now I'm able to kind of like sit with the facts of what happened and not almost hold bitterness towards a lot of people. My dad included, my mom, you know, like I have thought about, you know, just her decisions with what led up to it and stuff like that. So I think that, you know, I'm just in a better place to be able to process.
No, that's good. I mean, for one thing, grieving is a lifelong experience. So I don't think there's really actually a great time or the perfect time or the right time. But I do agree with you. Sometimes I've heard that denial has a grace to it. And so not that we are in disbelief fully, but like just sometimes not immersing ourselves immediately in the experience gives us that chance to protect ourselves. Because if you think about it, you have just been in survival mode. Like you literally, probably still till today, are just in survival mode. You lost your mother. at 22, you said you lost your mother at 22. 2 weeks later, you get kicked out from your home. You get separated from your siblings. You have to find a way. And so,
yeah,
doesn't seem like there's really much time in there to really do that anyway. But so like being in that survival mode. So you come in and sitting and obviously having this conversation is definitely good in that regard as well.
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
and that's grief too. Not having relationships with your siblings or being able to do that, like
because
dealing
they're
with
still
that.
alive too. So it's like grieving people that are still alive was an intense battle. Yeah, I'm still dealing with like the aftermath of that because during the time that I wasn't able to see them, they changed so much. So like when I was able to finally see them in and out and sometimes not, it was like I had to get to know them all over again. So like I would put, like my younger siblings to bed every night when my mom was sick, like I played that role. I prayed with them before we went to sleep. And like I woke up with them, got them ready for school, knew like their favorite foods and stuff like that. But then once I got older, it was like, you don't like Spider-Man anymore? Like, what do you mean? And it was just like a lot of getting to know my siblings again.
Have you been able to tell your siblings your story? So meaning, obviously, naturally, they will form their own story or things that they may have heard from your father or just different things like that in your absence. So have you, and if not, do you intend to be able to explain to them why you weren't there? Because it could be like, well, mommy passed away.
Oh, yeah.
Monica left us too.
Yeah.
Like, this sucks. Like,
It was definitely a lot of that because the most dominant voice around them was my dad because I wasn't able to talk to them. So I was able, it was really me against everyone, honestly. But then slowly over time and their own experiences with my dad kind of was like, oh, like it's not her. It is kind of you. And, like this is probably why X, Y, and Z. So I didn't, in the beginning, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I know the truth. And like they're treating me like I'm the bad guy. So it was like a lot of not willing to accept that and kind of, I think I was a little bit overly emotional, like, because I was just so shocked. Like, I can't believe that someone can really, like, change reality and change, like, the truth. So I had to, like, sit with that and process that. But so right now, half of them, I would say, kind of know the story. And then the other half are just, like, still on that side, if that makes sense. So, like, when I did have a conversation with my one sister recently, she kind of told me how she felt and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, no, that's literally not even what happened. And that's not how I felt. She thought I didn't want a relationship with her. I'm like, I literally like got lawyers and everything to fight for you, but you didn't know about it because I couldn't talk to you. So it's like a lot of things that, like I would even ask dad to see you, but he wouldn't tell you that I'm asking to see you. So you think I'm not even thinking about you. But the whole time I'm like literally fighting for you. So I'm still dealing with a lot of that today. I don't think that all of them even know 100% of my story. They just know bits and pieces. And like back then I just wanted to kind of like force it down their throat, like almost convince them and like just, I wanted them to know so bad. And I think now I'm at a place where like the truth's going to come to light, whether I say it or whether, they realize it on their own. So like I'm almost, I found some sort of peace with that.
That's good. No, that's definitely good. I mean, I think along my journey, some things I've heard too is that if someone knew my heart, they wouldn't feel that way. So it's like in the absence of the truth and in the absence of being able to have those conversations, I was able to find peace in just knowing that if this person or these people knew my heart, it's no way they would be able to feel that way. So I have to just be okay with that until they actually do know my heart or if it comes out a different way. What the heck does Monica's support system look like? Because I'm just sitting here really thinking, we see you on the shows and we see you obviously being funny and just like your personality and all of those things. And even now here, just smiling, but to go through so much abandonment. One was obviously not by choice with your mother and then with your father by choice and then losing your siblings. What is that like? Like what is your support system? What has that been? Or maybe a lack of?
My support system back then was probably none. Yeah, I don't think it was a lot of couch surfing. And like coming from a large family, because I ended up at my grandmother's house, and then she ended up kicking me out later on. And again, like, it wasn't anything that I necessarily did. And I'm like fully aware of like taking accountability and like I messed up. But like this was just some sort of weirdness.
Your mom's mom or
My
your dad's
mom's
mom? Okay,
mom. Yeah.
Okay.
My mom's mom ended up just saying like, I like, it's kind of like blurry. Like I just kind of like, I think I pushed that down to be able to now have a relationship with her or to continue having a relationship with her, because I think that I would have held a grudge, because in my most time of need, like that's not what I needed at all. So, back then I wouldn't say anybody, but that's also because of influence in my life, because, my dad's relationship with my mom's side of the family, because that's like all I knew. I didn't know my dad's side of the family that well. My mom's side of the family, we all grew up, and every one of her siblings were like in a 10-15 minute radius. So it was like us and all the cousins growing up together. But my dad's voice in my ear, kind of about like how he felt, kind of trickled into me believing it, as far as just kind of not being accepted into my mom's side of the family, for whatever reason he felt, whether it was like color or, you know, what he's done to my mom over the years, you know, like they never fully accepted him, whatever. But I kind of grew up feeling the same way towards them. But so I think that they wanted to be there for me, like my aunts back then, but I wouldn't let them in. Now I would say that they are an essential part of my support system now. But back then I wouldn't say that.
No, that's good. How have you been able to have you decided to just find, I don't know if we'll say it's forgiveness, because you said that you're able to just kind of push that down with your grandmother and maybe with, you know, your aunts or different family members as well, to be able to have those relationships. Did you do it for yourself? Like just saying, hey, you know what, I think I do or could benefit from these relationships, so I'm not going to just have these hard, tough conversations because it can get messier, or what?
I think that I've come to learn that forgiveness is for me. So I've definitely strived to do that. Not really thinking about them, but thinking about, you know, like my healing process and things of that sort. Plus finding God again, you know, like help that, because I completely, you know, eradicated that when my mom passed, because all the questions came flying down, and like it was a bunch of not a lack of understanding, you know, like, why did this happen? Like, she completely believed in you, like, up until her dying breath, she believed in you. So it was, I kind of turned my back on that, but I've recently, you know, found him again, and the forgiveness aspects of it have helped. And today actually was kind of like a huge milestone with that, because my dad actually called me, and we've talked, and he's always like, you know, like, you're my daughter, I love you, blah, 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 blah. But like his actions never spoke that. So today he was just like, you know, like, I was thinking about you today at work and I wanted to call you. It's nothing new. He always does that. But he was like, I love you. And I don't think I remember the last time I said that I loved him back, but today I said it. And I'm like,
wow, that kind of got me a little bit choked up. I'm not going to lie. It definitely got me a little choked up. Yeah. That was, man. Yeah. Thank God. Thank God for that. What'd that do for you?
It was pretty freeing. Yeah. These aren't like tears of pain. It's almost like tears of releasing pain. Because it's kind of funny, not really funny, but right after I said it, you know, like, we got off the phone and I had YouTube playing in the background, and it was like an ad. It was like a quick ad, like, interrupted my worship songs that I was playing, everything, and it was like, cancer's hard to live with. And I'm like, come on. Like, I'm literally doing the work, trying to forgive my dad, and like, here comes something to, like, you know, that would have made me like hold it against him. You know what I mean? Because so my mom had cervical cancer, not to put my dad's business all out there, but he gave her multiple STDs over the years of their marriage. from like the very beginning, like even pregnant with me. And, you know, she kept taking it back throughout the years because of, you know, I would say more religious beliefs. But so like a lot of my mom's side of the family kind of holds that grudge towards him. Like, you kind of are the reason why she has cancer, even though scientifically, like, we have no idea. But just like the multiple infections over the years and stuff like that could have, you know, but I just thought it was a little bit like, you know, the enemy trying to swoop in and like take, you know, that moment, that healing moment.
Yeah, it could be looked at that way, or it also could be looked at like this is because you didn't let it steal that, and you just came here and you sat and you still had the conversation. It's like you have found some healing.
Yeah,
because it was like kind of like that immediate test where it's like, okay, oh yeah, I'm healed, I feel I'm good, and then like something comes in your way to be like, are you really? Like normally you would have got maybe pissed off or angry or felt away, but it kind of could be looked at it that way as well. I think so many things in this conversation, I hope and I can only pray that they will help somebody out there, because you know a lot of us have lost loved ones to cancer, and we've lost loved ones to things that are beyond our control. But I always say that there's like so many cousins and like a snowball effect to grief, to death. Like death is never isolated. So if we only had to deal with if we only had to deal with the pain that comes from the person dying, it still would be hard as heck, right? It still would be difficult for us. But it's not just that. Families fall apart. Depression comes. Anxiety comes. And this is the thing. Grief meets you where you are. So whatever you were dealing with before that, it's only going to compound in 10x. So the thing I want to say to you is that we're a few years out now, is people always say that, you know, time alone heals all wounds. But I think what you have communicated and echo something that I say often is time alone doesn't heal all wounds. People who use their time to heal will heal. And so you did that. You made a lot of different conscious decisions. And although you didn't sit and say, okay, I am going to just sit here and find out what grief means, you have been able to mourn and cope and kind of go through it in your own way. And like I said, it's a life experience, but you were intentional with that. You said you were doing your own healing, even taking your dad's phone calls, choosing to have conversations with your grandmother and your family on the other side. And most importantly, being okay with your siblings having whatever scenario or story they have now, and putting your faith back and saying, well, eventually it'll come out. But one thing I do want to touch on before we kind of wrap up too is, what does that look like to kind of like find your way back to God, as you said? Because not everyone is spiritual or believes in God, but I do. And I think that people are made to feel guilty for feeling angry and questioning God in the face of loss.
I think that I don't know if it's biblically correct or anything, but I think that I almost had to lose my faith to be able to catapult myself into a stronger faith, if that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Like the way that I was before, I feel completely like I'm in a brand new belief, even though it is like the same way that I've always believed, but it's stronger and it's more hungry for, you know, learning more and stuff like that. But I don't think that I would be where I'm at today spiritually if I never got to such a breaking point and I need something beyond this world. Like I need there's no words that like a human can almost say to make me feel the way that I feel reading the word, if that makes sense. So like it's just a different kind of feeling.
Would you say that you think so, not just that going through what you did, but because sometimes people actually, you know, I was watching an episode that I had the conversation with Oskino, and he was saying that he's the kind of guy that you have to show him. Like you can't just tell him. So if you grew up in a spiritual situation, religious or whatever, and people are preaching and saying all these things, and it's like, yeah, sure. But like you actually were able to sit firsthand at your own life and see where you were and where you are now. Is that what you feel like?
Yeah, that's a good point, because it's like growing up, you always hear about the miracles and like people's testimonies on like how their life completely changed and just like everything like that. So it's like I've always believed their stories, but like there was like that little part was just like I've never experienced something that dramatic before myself. So I think that you never really know until you experience it yourself. So I definitely experienced it with that. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that definitely. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, I always like to just try to give as much clarity to things and just give people something to chew about and chew on, excuse me, and think about.
Um, you did ask me though, like how I kind of transitioned from, losing my faith to finding my faith. And it's actually pretty cool because so what ended up happening was um, I met this guy who's my now boyfriend, and he was going through a lot. And at the time when I met him, I guess we were kind of like equally yoked. Like he had believed in God, but like wasn't like living like a godly life. But and I was doing kind of the same. Like I never, even with my mom passing, I never didn't believe that God existed. It was just like more so like, where are you? So we were kind of on the same page with that. So what ended up happening was that he was going through a lot, and like I just kind of took what I knew growing up and was just kind of like feeding him it. So it was almost like a renewal for me, but like new to him. So like I was just kind of like I didn't know, like there was no words to say to him that were going to be good enough for what he's going through, like for me, like from me. So I almost had to like use what I learned throughout, like growing up in church and stuff like that for him. So I was just like saying it, but like I didn't believe what I was saying, but like as I'm saying it, it kind of just trickled into the renewal of my mind and my faith. And then I was getting him stuff for Christianity, like books about for like kingdom men and stuff like that, and his own Bible and stuff like that. And then I also saw like the girl version, so I ended up getting myself books and stuff like that. But it was like through serving someone else, I was also serving myself and renewing my faith that way. So once I got into those books and stuff like that, we started like our spiritual journey kind of together, and like holding each other accountable and stuff like that, and learning. I was learning it over again because I kind of had to, and he was learning it from a beginner standpoint. So it was just kind of that kind of friendship, and then just kind of blossom into a different
We might have we might have Minister Monica. I can't even say I can't even say that. I can't say the name.
I have a lot of layers, as you can tell.
But that's the beautiful thing, though. I think that's the thing about this kind of thing, is that you can see people in different lights, and you can paint different pictures or who you think someone is or whatever. But like, I'm just laughing because I really feel like we're gonna see you, and you're gonna be like a preacher. It's gonna be. I'm
gonna definitely have to reintroduce myself to a lot of people because they're gonna be like, "What?
They're like, what?
Wasn't that the mixed mud with the big butt?"
Yeah, that's gonna be the that's gonna be the title of your sermon.
Oh my gosh!
Like, I used to be the mixed mud with the big butt, but Lord, no. I'm just kidding. But all seriousness, I mean, I think that you're a beautiful person, and
thank you.
I thank you for sharing your light and showing us this side of you. But not only that, but you shared so much wisdom and so much gems that really honestly helped me too in this situation. I mean, we can all just learn and grow from each other. One thing I always ask my guests is, what if you had to choose a color for your grief, what would it be and why?
A color for my grief. I think I would say purple. Purple's always been like just kind of like a favorite color of mine, and I couldn't really like get away from it because I actually never wear purple. So like it was never like I like purple so much I always have to like have a purple bag and purple accessories. Like it was just the color purple I think I liked. And I think that's actually my mom's birthstone too. Ended up being my mom's birthstone. Yeah.
Well, we like that. We love the color purple. We definitely appreciated you coming on here. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you might want to share with anybody? What you have going on? Anything like that? I just want to make sure you have the opportunity to do that as well.
I think we covered everything. I thank you for, creating this platform for people like me to come on and kind of express ourselves in this way, because a lot of people actually feel like they can't ask me about my mom or like the situations that I've been through because they feel like it might be too hard for me, but I want to talk about it. Like I really actually enjoy talking about my mom, even though she's not here anymore. And I think that I will be able to use everything that I've been through to help others. So, feel free to message me anytime if you guys are going through anything or, just want to talk, and, I'll be there for you, and I'll have open communication.
Yeah, trust me. I'm sure people are going to reach out to you.
Yeah.
You just because you have a light about you, and you have a lot of wisdom, and it's just very real. And like you said, there's more people that need an outlet, need someone that they feel can relate, because I agree. I can never say, so I lost my father, but that's a different loss. And even like you said, when siblings are grieving the same person, is different. So everything is just totally different. But at least if you can see that 22-year-old Monica probably didn't see her being where she is now, and then someone else can look at it and say, well, I'm in this place right now, and if Monica was able to come on and smile and keep going and do different things with everything that she faced in her life, then ultimately I can do it too. So again, I have the utmost gratitude for you coming on and sharing this show. Where can they follow you, people who don't know?
You can follow me at Monica.Mulatto. That's Monica.Mulatto. On Instagram. That's it. I'm only on Instagram.
She's on Instagram. She got a lot of great things going on. So definitely make sure you follow her and communicate with her there. And if you're not following me and you don't know where you can follow me, what the heck are you doing? Get over to Instagram at I_am_J_Nicole, guys. So next time, you already know. Love and light. Peace.
Bye.